Hello, students, and welcome to our lesson on writing linear equations when given 2 points. This lesson actually combines the last 2 lessons, so a little bit more work for each problem, but it's mostly a review of what we've already done and putting it together in a new way. So we want you to, first of all, answer the do now question about good ideas. And our objective today will be to write a linear equation when we are given 2 points. Again, this is also a highly tested area, and it goes to the very central theme of what algebra is all about in high school. Our essential question is, if I only know 2 points, how can I write a linear equation in slope-intercept form? Remember, slope-intercept form allows us to easily graph and a linear equation because we start with a y-intercept and then we calculate the slope to find the slope of the line and the actual graph of the line. And we also want to know what are the 3 steps necessary to write a linear equation when we are given only 2 points. So we'll watch the video, and we have 14 problems to complete. And please, you need to work very carefully and mindfully with today's assignments. We have an exit ticket, where we will recap those 3 steps and fill in some blanks. And for homework, we have homework 4.7, writing linear equations, given 2 points. Remember, we always want to have our camera on in class, respond when our name is called, submit today's assignment in Teams using photographs. And if you have questions, please email me. So today also is National Ugly Sweater Day. So maybe if you get finished early, you could finish coloring in this sweater and maybe make it a little less ugly when it has a little bit of color to it. You know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, students. Some people love these sweaters. Some people think they're not so pretty. Well, here's our do now. It's an interesting question. Would you rather be known as a person who has great ideas or someone who implements great ideas to get things done? Let's think about that. You have a choice, okay, between 2 things. The first thing is, would you rather be known as a person who has great ideas? The second choice, our or, someone who implements great ideas. So this isn't somebody who comes up with great ideas. It's somebody who recognizes great ideas they've seen elsewhere and puts them into practice. And there are real pluses and minuses to each. I mean, the implementer cannot get anything done unless the idea comes from somewhere. But the ideator can't get their ideas out there and put into practice without someone who's good at implementing these things. So I want you to take a few minutes, think about that, and write a sentence about that. And our exit ticket, we'll get back to that at the end of our lesson. Okay, so writing linear equations when given 2 points. And I hope you are writing in your notes, not your do now and our exit we'll do in Teams, but these problems need to be done in your notes. Couldn't quite fit it all in today, but that's okay. All right, so to write a linear equation that passes through 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, we call that x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2, use the slope formula followed by the point slope formula. So we've got a 2-step process here. 1, 2. So the slope formula, let's review. Slope is represented by m. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1. All of that divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So that's, at this point, you are given 2 points. Now, when we've worked with the slope formula before, and we've done that a few lessons ago, we said it doesn't matter which set of points you label as set 1 or set 2. And it doesn't matter. And it won't matter with this either. But you cannot intermingle those x and y points. Okay, x1, x sub 1 has to stay with y sub 1. X sub 2 is with y sub 2. Now, once we get and we obtain the slope from the slope formula, then we'll use the point slope formula to turn this equation into something we can use to graph, which is slope-intercept form. So let's review the point slope formula is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. So that's it in a nutshell, but putting into practice takes a little bit of, I think, patience and detail. You need to work slowly and carefully. And this is not where, please show all your work, because this is all about the process. This isn't about the answer. This is about how did you get there. So we're going to write the equation of the line that passes through the given 2 points. They're giving us 2 points, and we're going to write the equation of the line. We are also asked to write all final answers in slope-intercept form, and slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. All right, so now we've got -3, 7, and 1, -1. So we're going to start with our slope formula. Let me roll this down. We have our y sub 2 minus y sub 1, x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So we'll call this our x sub 1 and our y sub 1. We'll call this our x sub 2 and our y sub 2. Then we start with m equals. So that would be y sub 2 minus y sub 1. So that would be -1 minus 7 divided by 1 minus a -3. Remember, minus a negative is a plus. So it's 1 plus 3. That will equal -8 over 4, which equals -2. So now we have a slope of -2. Now we take one of those points, and I'm going to take this first point here. And we're going to insert that point with the slope in the point slope form of the equation. So now we're looking at this point slope form. So we will have y minus 7, so we're using this first point, equals the slope, which is -2 times the quantity of x plus 3. Now remember, once we are in point slope form, we distribute and we solve for y. So we're going to distribute. So we have y minus 7 equals -2x minus 6. We'll add 7 to both sides, and that will give us y equals -2x plus 1. And that's our final answer. So we started with the 2 points. We used the slope formula to get the slope. Once we have the slope, we use the slope and 1 point in the point slope formula, solved for y, and that gave us the slope-intercept form right there, and that's our final answer. So I said they're a little bit tedious, but with practice, you can get really good at these. So again, we're going to start with, we have our x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. And we'll start with finding the slope. So in this case, we have y sub 2, which is our -4, minus y sub 1, which is negative 7. And when you subtract a negative, you make it positive. Okay, divided by 3 minus a negative 6, which is plus 6. That would give us 3/9, which would reduce to 1/3. So that's our slope. Our m equals 1/3. Now we'll use the point slope formula, and I'm going to go ahead and use the negative 6, 7. I'm going to use the first point here. I could use the second point, but I usually use the first point. So we've got y, and it's going to be y minus y sub 1. Well, y sub 1 is a negative 7. If I'm subtracting a negative, it's a plus 7. Equals our slope of 1/3 times the quantity of x. And when we have x2 minus x1, so to speak, we have x minus x1. If it's minus x1 minus negative 6, it's plus 6. So that's the tricky thing, is keeping those negatives straight. So now we distribute. So we have y plus 7 equals 1/3 x. And 1/3 of 6 is 2. And now we just need to subtract 7 from both sides. And y equals 1/3 x minus 5. That's the final answer. And let's go on. Are you ready to try the next 4 on your own? Why don't you do that? And then you can come back to the video and check your work. Okay, I'm going to work number 3 now. First, we need to find the slope. So m equals negative 6 minus 1 minus negative 1 is plus 1, divided by 4 minus 2, which would equal negative 5 over 2. So our slope, our m, equals negative 5 over 2. Now we'll use the point slope formula. Y minus negative 1 is the same as y plus 1 equals negative 5 over 2, our slope, times the quantity of x minus 2. Now we distribute. Y plus 1, let me make that a little neater, equals negative 5 over 2 x, and 5/2 of negative 2, negative 5/2 of negative 2 is plus 5. So now we'll subtract 1 from both sides. Y equals negative 5 over 2 x plus 4. And if you need to review fractions, make sure you make a sidebar. You will come over here. If you're multiplying negative 5 over 2 times negative 2, remember, you put a 1 under it. Okay, you cross cancel. And negative 5 times negative 1 is positive 5. That's how we got that answer. And that's what ended up over here. Okay, number 4. So let's find the slope first. M equals 5 minus 6 divided by 2 minus 1, which gives us negative 1 over 1, which simplifies to negative 1. So our slope is negative 1. Now we use the point slope formula. Y minus 6 equals negative 1 times x minus 1, which is the x sub 1 value, and we distribute. Now, we could have made this one an invisible one. It would have been perfectly okay to just write negative x minus 1. Okay, same thing. But we still need to distribute, so we're going to have y minus 6 equals negative x plus 1. Negative times a negative is a positive. Now we'll just add 6 to both sides. And we will have y equals negative x plus 7. And that's our equation in slope-intercept form. And moving on to number 5, let's find our slope. So we're going to have negative 5 minus 1 divided by 0 minus negative 8, which is 0 plus 8, because adding a negative is the same as subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. I'm sorry, I almost misspoke that. Okay, moving on, we've got negative 6 over 8, which we can reduce to negative 3/4. So our slope equals negative 3/4. Now we're going to insert the first point into this point slope form along with the slope of negative 3/4. Y minus y1 is 1 equals the slope of negative 3/4 times the quantity of x minus negative 8, which is x plus 8. And now we distribute. Y minus 1 equals negative 3/4 x minus 6. Negative 3/4 times positive 8 is negative 6. Now we add 1 to both sides, and y equals negative 3/4 x minus 5. And there's our slope-intercept form. And now let's work on number 6. First, we will find our slope. M equals, so this is our x1, y1, x2, y sub 2. So let me move the slope down a little bit. Okay, slope equals 7 minus a negative 8, which is plus 8, divided by 2 minus a negative 3, which is plus 3, which equals 15 divided by 5, which equals 3. So our slope is 3. Now we use the point slope form to derive the slope-intercept form. So we will do y minus y1, which is negative 8. So subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive, equals 3 times the quantity of x minus a negative 3, which is plus 3. We distribute. Y plus 8 equals 3x plus 9. We subtract 8 from each side of the equation, and y equals 3x plus 1. Let's move on to the second page. Now, they don't necessarily get harder, just that you have to be very careful of the negative numbers, and you have to know how to handle fractions. So let's look at number 7. First, we'll find the slope. M equals, we'll start with y2, 2 minus negative 14, which is plus 14. 3 minus negative 9 is 3 plus 9, which equals 16 over 12, which reduces to 4/3. And in algebra, we usually keep the improper fractions. So our slope is 4/3. That would mean if we graphed it, the rise is 3 and the run is 4. Now we move on to the point slope form. Y minus -9. So that's y plus 9. I'm sorry, 14. Y plus 14 equals 3/4 times the quantity of x. And there's our plus 9. And we distribute first. Y plus 14 equals 3/4 x. 4/3. I keep writing 3/4. Let me fix that. It's 4/3. Sorry about that. I think I'm distracted because it's very chilly in my apartment right now. I was visiting overnight, so I turned my heat off and I came back and I should have just kept the heat on. Okay, 4/3 of 9 is 12. Okay, let's work it over here for you. Times 9 over 1. You can simplify. 4 times 3 is 12 over 1, which equals 12. So 4/3 x plus 12. The next step will be to subtract 14 from each side. Now we have our slope-intercept form of y equals 4/3 x minus 2. And remember, we keep these m value, the 4/3, we keep that as an improper fraction. We don't have to simplify that to 1 1/3 in algebra. It's standard practice to keep an improper fraction there. Okay, so number 8. First, we'll find the slope. So we're going to have -1 minus -3, which is plus 3, divided by -4 minus -6, which is plus 6. That would equal 2/2, which simplifies to 1. So we have a slope of 1. Now, let's use point slope form. Y minus -3, which is y plus 3, equals, we'll just put that 1 there for now, times the quantity of x minus -6 is plus 6. And we distribute, and it'll just be x plus 6. Y plus 3 equals x plus 6. And then we just simply subtract 3 from both sides. And we have y equals x plus 3. So we've got 4 more to do. So first we find the slope, and it's going to be our y2, our 2 minus 7 divided by 6 minus -4, which will be plus 4, which will translate into -5/10, which simplifies to -1/2. So our slope is -1/2. Now we use this first point, -4, 7, y minus 7 equals -1/2 times the quantity of x minus -4 means x plus 4. And we distribute. So y minus 7 equals -1/2 x, and half of 4 is 2. Negative times a positive is a negative. We simply add 7 to each side of the equation, which allows us to get this equation immediately into slope-intercept form of y equals -1/2 x plus 5. How did you do? I hope you're doing well with these. So go to number 10. We're going to find the slope. So negative 9 minus 1 divided by negative 1 minus 1, which equals negative 10 divided by negative 2. Now, did you remember a negative divided by negative is a positive? So our slope is a positive 5. Now we use the point slope formula, and the first point, y minus 1 equals 5 times the quantity of x, again minus 1. And we distribute by multiplying the 5 through. Y minus 1 equals 5x minus 5. Positive times a negative is a negative. We'll add 1 to both sides to give us y equals 5x minus 4. Number 14. Start with the slope. M equals 2 minus the negative 1 is plus 1. And then our x2 minus x1 is 0 minus 4, which will give us negative 3/4. So our m value, our slope, is negative 3/4. Using the point slope form, y minus negative 1 is y plus 1 equals the slope of negative 3/4 times the quantity of x minus 4. And we distribute y plus 1 equals negative 3/4 x plus 2. Negative 3/4 of 4 is plus 3, not plus 2. I knew something wasn't right. Okay, 3/4 of 4 is 3, and a negative times a negative is a positive. All right, so let's just simply subtract 1 from each side of the equation. Y equals negative 3/4 x plus 2. Negative slope, you already know that line is going to go in this direction because of that negative slope there. Number 12, let's find the slope first. So we have negative 5 minus negative 2, which is plus 2, divided by 1 minus negative 2, which is plus 2. So the slope will be negative 3 over positive 3, which simplifies to negative 1. So our slope is negative 1. Now let me change the color a little bit. We're going to use the point slope form. Y minus negative 2, which is y plus 2, equals negative 1 times the quantity of x minus negative 2, which is plus 2. Just distribute. Now, we could have written the right side of this equation, negative x plus 2. Same thing. This becomes an invisible 1. So after distributing, we have y plus 2 equals negative x minus 2. And then we need to subtract 2 from each side so we can isolate y. And then y equals negative x minus 4. Okay, let's do number 13. Our slope equals negative 1 minus negative 5, which is plus 5, divided by 2 minus 3, which equals 4, over negative 1, which equals negative 4. So our slope is negative 4. Now we'll use the point slope formula. Y minus -5 is y plus 5 equals -4 times the quantity of x minus 3. And we'll distribute. Y plus 5 equals -4x plus 12. -4 times -3 is a positive 12. Subtract 5 from each side. And we have y equals -4x plus 7. And there we are in slope-intercept form. And our last problem today, number 14, let's find the slope. I wanted to change the color there. Okay, the slope equals -1 minus 14 divided by 2 minus -3 is 2 plus 3. And that simplifies to -15 over 5, which simplifies to -3. So our slope is -3. Now we'll use the point slope formula. Y minus 14 equals the slope of -3 times the quantity of x minus -3, which is x plus 3. And we will distribute before we solve for y. Y minus 14 equals -3x minus 9. Now we'll add 14 to each side. We need to isolate the y. And y equals -3x plus 5. And that's our slope-intercept form. So let's go back to our exit ticket. So complete the steps to writing a linear equation when given 2 points. Use the slope formula and let's write it out there. M equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x sub 1. Use the slope formula to find the slope. That's step 1. Step 2, insert the slope and either point, it doesn't matter which point you use, into the point slope formula. And then derive the slope-intercept formula. That's where you want to end up. So we're going to derive the slope-intercept form by solving for y. So you should be getting pretty good at these if you're doing them every day. And I know you are. You have about 10 to practice for homework tonight. And keep doing all this hard work, because the more you work, the better you get at it, and you'll be great.